Exactly 2 years ago, I made a decision that would consume 4,000 hours of my life. That's right, I bought my first ever World of Warcraft subscription. It was a dark moment for me having just been laid off. I needed an escape, a world to get lost in and silence the nagging thoughts even just for a while. I had fond childhood memories with MMOs. The thrill of looting rare gear,
No way, we got a Crawl Blade.
the satisfaction of amassing gold, watching my character evolve from tattered rags to epic armor, and the sense of belongingness in playing with others to defeat powerful bosses. Growing up in Southeast Asia, World of Warcraft wasn't exactly the MMO everyone talked about. Instead, we roamed the anime-like worlds of Life, Ragnarok, and Dragoness, to name a few. WoW, to me, felt like this distant enigma. Something that I'd only hear about from my cousins in the US, something that piqued my interest but never actually tried. And now, 700 days later and nearly 4,000 hours sunk across all of my World of Warcraft characters, I want to look back and answer the big question. Was it worth it? It may not be as simple as black and white, and here's how it went down. I started my adventure with Retail WoW. This is the current version of the game that is constantly being updated throughout the years. Because I had always enjoyed slinging fancy spells and attacking from a safe distance, my mage named Zephyris came to life. The new player experience included a tutorial in Exile's Reach where my character gets shipwrecked and has to learn the basics. From there, you can go to Chromie and choose any old expansion to level through from 10 to 70. I'm not gonna lie, the leveling experience felt lonely and tedious. I rarely saw other players questing and the level scaling was jarring. I'd get new gear from quest rewards only to find myself struggling more against the same mobs. Once I got to level 70, I was booted to the current expansion at the time, Dragonflight, where I finally got to play the endgame, which consisted of mythic dungeons, raiding, achievement hunting, transmog collection and all. I grinded through the entire Season 2 of Dragonflight, pushing my way to Keystone Hero, an achievement that basically shows you've run a shitload of dungeons for the past few months. I also got ahead of the curve, which is like my medal for pressing my buttons and not standing on fire during raids. Retail's combat was fast-paced and challenging. A lot was happening on my screen. I definitely encountered some toxic players and my fingers felt like they were getting arthritis from all the keys I had to press. But more importantly, it was fun. At least for me. But then I hit a wall. Season 3 launched and with it the brutal realization that all my time, all my effort invested in my gear was for nothing. That I needed to grind new equipment again to become relevant to this new season. Honestly, it made me question everything. What was the point? So my attention turned to World of Warcraft Classic, the faithful recreation of the original 2004 release. With the official hardcore servers having just launched and bringing permadeath to Azeroth, I knew I had to give it a try. Needless to say, I fell in love with WoW Classic. Right from the start, the races felt unique. I was drawn to the Alliance simply because the Horde models look ugly and evil and I didn't like that. I think the class fantasy is one of its biggest strengths. Priests could either be holy healers or shadow-wielding cursors, and the need to feed your pet as a hunter or else they'll run away was a nice touch. Rogues could pickpocket NPCs, mages could create portals across continents, and every class had these distinct, impactful abilities. While Retail does have some of these, Classic's less streamlined design meant the kits unique to each class could be valuable in certain situations. After countless deaths, I finally made it to 60 on my mage and boy was the adventure so much fun. I even joined an Aussie guild since the raid schedules are the only one that aligned with my time zone. In Classic WoW, the sprawling open world of Azeroth felt massive and dangerous. Plus, the stakes of permanently losing your character only made the experience even more exciting. Every upgrade felt meaningful. I'd never been so happy getting +3 more stamina, and even common items like wool cloth and ores would sell for a decent price just because almost every little thing in the game served a purpose. I was lucky enough to raid Zul'Gurub in Molten Core in Hardcore and even got some gear that I still proudly wear nowadays. We were gearing up for Blackwing Lair, but as it goes, all good things must come to an end. Season of Discovery, a new version of WoW Classic with some new elements just came out. Most of my guildies jumped ship, and before I knew it, my guild and server was kinda dead. And of course, we play MMO for the interactions and the people, right? So it didn't take long for me to follow the trend into Season of Discovery, which felt like classic WoW on steroids. It introduced new abilities, class changes, raids, and fresh content. The core idea of questing to discover runes that unlock powerful skills was incredibly fun, but sometimes the sheer number of people bottlenecked by the same quest was somewhat frustrating. I guess this was the typical experience whenever Blizzard releases a new version of WoW. Although I had very little WoW experience to compare this version to, the overall vibe had been enjoyable, a sentiment shared by my veteran guildies. I actually became a pretty decent raider in SOD, but by Phase 3, the pacing started to drag. Before Blizzard could even release Phase 4 and the revamped Molten Core raid, I've lost interest and moved on to Cataclysm. My time in Cataclysm Classic was a blur. It brought a significant overhaul of the mechanics, and suddenly, classes had way more buttons to press than just a simple 1 to 2 rotation. Yes, I'm looking at you, Frostbolt. From a new player's perspective, this was the defining moment when I felt like classic WoW shifted more towards retail. Sure, some might argue that the changes started in Wrath of the Lich King, but in my defense, I didn't actually play that version. Cataclysm raids felt significantly more complicated, especially as a solo player. The PUG experience, meaning grouping up with random players, was a constant pain in the ass. As a bit of a people pleaser, I would stay in a group for hours even after wiping countless of times. It was not fun at all. I guess the silver lining that came out of Cataclysm was that I was able to make so much gold from herbalism to buy a year's worth of WoW tokens. As a broke, unemployed 26-year-old in a third world country, that was huge. After Cataclysm, I returned to Hardcore WoW, this time on the anniversary servers, and achieved my dream of getting to 60 on the hardest class in WoW Classic, the Warrior. Out of all the versions, I played Classic the most, but as fun as it was, not everything about it was perfect. For one, class balance in Classic felt pretty lopsided. Warriors weren't just the best DPS, they were also the go-to tanks. It made other classes feel a bit underwhelming in high-end content. Like, you could pour hours into gearing a paladin or a druid, but good luck getting a raid spot unless you're a warrior or a priest. Not to mention the min-max culture. Sometimes it feels like if you're not parsing orange or pink, you don't belong. And then there were flight paths. Boy, don't get me started with it. Some were so absurdly inefficient, it's faster to just ride your mount to reach your destination. But wait, it gets worse. For new players like me, the economy in Classic can be straight up brutal. Enchantments, consumables, and best-in-slot items would cost an arm and a leg, which makes it difficult unless you got a friend to funnel you gold. Or, if you buy some. And it's not just the economy, it's the gold obsession. There were times I'd ask for help with a group quest and some people would respond, "How much are you paying?" Like, bro, I'm trying to kill a demon together, not hire a freelancer. Yet, despite all of its flaws, I still love Classic WoW. It's the version that kept me playing. There's something magical about the slower pace, the need to explore, and the feeling that you've earned every inch of progress. It made Azeroth feel alive, made it feel like an actual world I needed to survive in instead of a theme park. I feel jealous of people who've played WoW back in its golden age. Back when the answers to your questions weren't just a Google search away. How awesome it must have felt to discover something for the first time. But even now, I'm just grateful I got to experience a piece of this magic through these modern day releases. So, was playing only World of Warcraft for 2 years worth it? Hell yeah! My only regret is not playing it sooner. Looking back, it wasn't just about the raids or the loot or the achievements. It was about having a world to escape into when mine was falling apart. I'm now in a better place in real life, and although WoW didn't fix all of my problems, it gave me something to hold on to while I figure things out. I met strangers who became friends, I laughed, I got tilted, I got swindled, but most importantly, I had fun. After playing nearly every version of WoW, I finally understand why this game has lasted more than 2 decades and is still going strong. Retail gave me a challenge, Classic gave me community, and Hardcore gave me adrenaline. Each version gave me something I didn't know I needed, and that's rare in a game. 2 years in Azeroth taught me a lot, but somehow, it feels like I've barely scratched the surface. There's still Mists of Pandaria Classic, the Classic Plus Dream, the Burning Crusade, oh god help me. I don't think I'm done with this game anytime soon, and maybe I'm cursed to play World of Warcraft just like the rest of you. And I mean that as a compliment.